Hashtag winning, that's President Trump's motto when it comes to the economy. In the latest June jobs report, the U.S. added 147,000 jobs, easily beating estimates and highlighting a solid economy. Included in the Bureau of Labor Statistics report was a slight drop in the unemployment rate, dipping 0.1%. The news comes less than 1 week before the July 9th deadline when the pause on Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs will expire. Joining me now is the Hill's White House correspondent Brett Samuels. Brett, this is a major boost for Trump's argument that his policies will, as he puts it, unleash historic growth. The latest report shattered expectations. What are economists saying?
Yeah, it did beat expectations, Judy. And I think this is sort of the latest example of, a jobs report, an economic report where everyone was sort of setting expectations or bracing for the possibility that Trump's use of tariffs or some of his other economic policies might stunt growth or might lead to, a poor jobs report or a poor economic report. But time and again, it does seem that these reports come out that they sort of validate the White House's narrative that President Trump knows what he's doing here, that folks should trust in Trump, as the White House likes to say. So this will really only bolster Trump, I think, at a time when he's about to get a big win in Congress and as these trade deadlines approach.
The solid job numbers could intensify Trump's public battle with Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who has less than a year left in his term. With the latest data, we could see the Fed hold off cutting rates at its meeting later this month. Is Trump ready to name a replacement for Powell?
Yeah, so far, President Trump has been sort of reluctant to go that far to name a replacement. Whenever replacements have been floated, we've heard names like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that he could take on that job, or Kevin Warsh, who's on the board of Federal Reserve governors. Whenever those names get floated, the White House kind of bats them down and shrugs them off as speculation. So it seems like President Trump and his team are sort of playing a wait and see game when it comes to naming a potential replacement, but that certainly hasn't stopped President Trump from making clear that he's not a fan of Jerome Powell, and that certainly there's no expectation that Jerome Powell is going to be renominated to another term when his current term expires in 2026.
Right, let's talk about the looming July 9th deadline when Trump's reciprocal tariffs pause could be lifted. We've seen 3 trade deals so far, the latest with Vietnam. Where are we at with negotiations? Are there any rumblings of nearing trade deals?
Yeah, we've been hearing for weeks, maybe even months, from White House officials that, these trade deals, these negotiations are ongoing, that deals are close, that they, haven't quite been able to announce them, but they're in the works. This Vietnam deal was sort of a rare instance of actually seeing a deal come together, or at least a framework of a deal between two countries. So something tangible that the White House can point to. As far as other deals, we've heard about negotiations with India, for example, whether there could be some kind of deal there. South Korea, Japan, it seems like a deal is not happening there after Trump earlier in the week said he was sending a letter to Japan indicating essentially that there would be no deal. So it does seem like time is running short on the White House being able to come up with another sort of tangible deal or something specific before that July 9th deadline, which I think just points to sort of how complicated trade negotiations get and how hard it was for the White House to sort of set expectations that they would be able to come up with dozens of trade deals in just a 3-month window.
It seems like the elephant in the room when it comes to trade deals is China. The U.S. recently announced it's lifted some restrictions on exporting chip design software to China. Is this a sign we're seeing an ease in trading tensions?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think, President Trump has made clear that he wants to have some kind of relationship with China. He frequently is complimenting Xi Jinping, the president of China, talking about their personal relationship. So I think President Trump would like to see an easing of tensions. There are signs, after the most recent meeting between U.S. and Chinese officials that took place just a few weeks ago that led to this announcement that there was, essentially they had agreed to this trade framework that they were going to implement. It seems like there is hope for some kind of easing of tensions, that both sides are interested in that. So it does seem like we may be on the right path for that. But as always with Trump, it's always just kind of one false step away from him slapping tariffs or getting frustrated and sort of derailing the whole thing.
Right, as we speak, the House is on the verge of passing Trump's one big, beautiful bill. Trump's looking to have a pretty celebratory July 4th, huh?
It definitely looks that way, Judy. He was already slated to take in the fireworks in Washington from the White House before jetting off to New Jersey to his estate at Bedminster. But before that, it does seem like he's going to have a bill signing. He's going to have a big celebratory event at the White House where he's going to get to sign what is probably going to be the signature piece of legislation of his second term, extending tax cuts, increasing border funding. Of course, there are provisions that will cut back Medicaid benefits, SNAP benefits, some other things that Democrats have really seized on. But for the most part, this is a huge win for the president and for the White House, especially after there were times this week when this bill looked to be in sort of a precarious spot. Certainly, I think the White House is gonna take their time taking a victory lap on this one.
Brett Samuels, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Judy.